And even if you know it, doesn't matter. It'll help us to just keep practicing. You can follow the second line. We'll keep this as a format. Is that okay? So, Neetuji, up, you'll follow.
So, okay.
I'll do the first
Yes.
line, then you can do. Yeah? You can start the invocation.
Okay. Sadashiv Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhasha Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Om Sahana Tu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
We'll chant 66 to 68. I'm sorry, 69. 65 to 69. Prasade sarva dukkhanam
Prasade sarva dukkhanam
hanirasyopajayate
Nirasyopajayate
प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु
Prasannachetaso hyashu
बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते
Buddhif paryavatishtate
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां हानिरस्योपजायते
Prasade sarva dukkhanam Hanirasyopajayate
प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते
Prasannachetaso hyashu Buddhif paryavatishtate
Do the whole verse.
Prasade sarva dukkhanam Hanirasyopajayate Prasannachetaso hyashu Buddhif paryavatishtate
नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य
Nasti buddhirayuktasya
न चायुक्तस्य भावना
Nachayuktasya bhavana
न चाभावयतः शान्तिः
Nacha bhavayata shantihi
I'll do that again. न चाभावयतः शान्तिः
Nacha bhavayata shantihi
अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्
Ashantasya kutas sukham
नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना
Nasti buddhirayuktasya Nachayuktasya tasya bhavana
न चाभावयतः शान्तिः अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्
na cha bhavyayata shantihi ashantasya kutas sukham
नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चाभावयतः शान्तिः अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्
nasti buddhirayuktasya na cha yuktasya bhavana na cha bhavayata shanti ashantasya kutas sukham
Um,
shantihi.
and in the first line also, it is cha yuktah, not cha yuktah.
Na
Otherwise,
cha yukta.
it is actually cha ayukta. Otherwise, it will become cha yukta, which will be the opposite meaning. Second line also cha abhavayata. So cha bhavayata. We'll do the 67th verse also. Indriyanam hi charatam
Indriyanam hi charatam
yanmano nu vidhiyate
yanmano nu vidhiyate
tadasya harati prajnam
tadasya harati prajnam
vayurnavamivambhasi. Very
vayurnavamimambasi
good. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmanonu vidhiyate
indriyanam hi charatam yanmano nu vidhiyate
tadasya harati prajnam vayurnavamivambhasi.
tadasya harati prajnam vayurnavamivambasi
Indriyanam hi charatam yanmanonu vidhiyate tadasya harati prajnam vayurnavamivambhasi.
indriyanam hi charatam yanmano nu vidhiyate tadasya harati prajnam vayurnavamivambasi.
Very good. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much. So, we are now seeing 64th verse said, when I'm taking an example first. When is a snake harmless, especially a poisonous snake? When we remove the fangs. When do you fear a snake? When you know that it is poisonous. A poisonous snake is cause for concern. A fear for a poisonous snake is correct, is right. You should fear a snake which still has poison in its fangs. But if you remove the fangs, the poison from there, this snake you can now play with. All our snake charmers do that. They remove the poison and then they earn their livelihood from it. They give a snake show. Means now a snake is still available, but the entire snake was never something to be feared of. The entire snake cannot cause you harm. What is causing harm is the fangs, the poison. In the same way, as long as there is raga dvesh in one's mind, as long as there is raga dvesh in the mind, so long a person seeking shanti should be wary of, should be cautious, should have a certain concern over one's own self. As long as you have raga dvesh, you are susceptible to the movement of the senses. Means senses are getting attracted or repulsed. The minute you like something, if there is a study done ever on the dilation of the pupils, eyes, and the pupils in the eyes, if you like something or you meet someone whom you like after a long time, there is a even the pupils of the eyes dilate. इंद्रियों का एक activation है. The indriyas get excited. The indriyas become enlightened, lightened. They get enlivened. They spark. That's the word. They spark. And if you don't like something, you dislike someone, you have a strong grudge against someone, or you don't like an object, there is a व्यवहार automatic in the body, इंद्रियों के level पे है. So for a person whose raga dvesh are strong, are powerful, for such a person, for such a person, moving in the world without any controls is dangerous. I'm repeating. If there is raga dvesh in the mind, for such people, moving freely in the world will be dangerous for their shanti. What will it be dangerous for? Shanti, peace. Why? Because from Indriya itself, the attraction and revulsion for the objects is there. खिंचाव है, खिंचता है. और अगर मन में राग द्वेष है तो विदाउट एनी रेस्ट्रेन मन भागता है. So the indriyas are pulled by the sense objects, and from within the mind, the ragdvesh pushes one towards fulfilling by meeting those objects. इंद्रियों को activate करता है. So there is a two-way pull and push. It's a tug of war. What is a tug of war in every individual? By our own samskars, our own vasanas, हमने एक प्रवृत्ति, अपना मन, अपना स्वभाव, अपनी इंडिविजुअलिटी, अपनी पर्सनालिटी बना ली. Accordingly, we have set certain behavior patterns. We move towards things we like, we avoid things we don't like. We have constructed or we construct a life around these impulses. We engage ourselves in such experiences based on these impulses. The two-way tug of war is, on one hand, the sense organs, the indriyas, hold the attraction for the object. By my past likes and dislikes, by my past accumulation of habits, desires that I have entertained, On one hand, the object will activate the indriya. On the other hand, the mind, if it has very strong raga dvesh, will push the indriya to seek its fulfillment by meeting the object. What is the tug of war? If we can identify this in life, a lot of shanti can come back. On one hand, objects look appealing to us, they attract us, or they repulse us. So my sense organs are pulled towards them, pulled by the objects, एक्टिवेट हो जाती है और खिंच जाती है ऑब्जेक्ट की तरफ. As if object is pulling. Object is not pulling. We have cleared this in the past class. Object is not pulling the indriya. Object doesn't say I am a object of like. But by my past nature, I have developed certain likes. And so the indriyas get attracted. And therefore, as if the object is pushing the indriya towards itself. Movement to एक ही है, from inside outside. But when the rag dvesh is very powerful, such a one, Shastra says, you have to be very, very careful moving about in the world if you desire peace. Why careful? Because Raga Dvesh by themselves have the force to activate the Indriya. Raga Dvesh itself will keep the mind restless and will want that we rush to fulfill ourselves. It will seek the object. It's exactly like saying when I'm hungry. What happens? Which indriya activates when I'm hungry? Which indriya is active when I'm hungry?
Tongue.
Tongue, rasa indriya. It's active when I'm hungry. Now, the minute I'm hungry, where do the thoughts go? To food. Naturally goes to food. You may be deep in your work, but if you are hungry, your mind will be pulled away from your work and you will say, oh, bhook lagi hai. And then once you have fed yourself, now what happens? For a little while, the indriya is quietened, the mind is quietened, you feel as if you've got shanti. But again, the indriya can get pushed into seeking its own. Next time when it feels hungry again the same pravriti will start. 64th verse said, if you want to move in the world without inhibition, in the sense, with total relaxation that you will not be bound by it, that the object will not make you helpless, that the chase for happiness will not make you a weak person. The only solution is free your mind from ragadvesh. इनको कमजोर करो. कैसे कमजोर करोगे? Anyone? How will you weaken your?
Flaw.
हाँ जी.
Flaw of the thought. Flaw of the thought.
Flaw of the.
And the realization that it will not, wo happiness will flee. So if you seek it, you should be prepared that happiness will go.
Correct. Also, what is the portion we have done which will completely attack ragadvesh directly? 47th verse, 48th verse. Karma Yoga will clearly attract, excellent, will clearly attract ragadvesh. Will clearly attack ragadvesh. Now the chapter has moved in a way. Bhagwan's teaching has moved in a way. कर्म योग करता हुआ इंसान राग द्वेष कम हो जाता है उसका, और जिसका राग द्वेष कम हो जाता है उसकी इंद्रियां भी पावरलेस एज इफ हो जाते, मीन्स इट इज अंडर योर कंट्रोल. आत्मा वश्य ही, आत्मा वश, आपके वश में है. आत्मा here doesn't mean that atman. Atma means yourself. Your own indriyas will be under your control. Such a person whose ragadvesh has become weak in the mind. How did it become be weak? By the practice of Karam Yoga. Such a person can now have the indriyas under his own control. And the one who has mastered, in a way, that's an English word, but it doesn't mean perfection. It just means you have them under your control, under your will. आपकी इच्छा के अनुसार, आपकी अनुमति के अनुसार आपकी इंद्रियां व्यवहार के निकलती हैं. Such a person whose indriyas are under their control, whose ragadvesh is under his control because they are now weak and he can control them, such a person prasadam adhigachati. Prasadam follows such a person. And what was the prasadam? Prasadam was atma sukham, shanti. What did he say here is prasadam? Prasannata. अंतकरण की एक cheerfulness. In psychology, they say, are you a pessimistic person or an optimistic person? Do you look at things when things are difficult? Do you look at things, evaluate the situation from a standpoint of pessimism, means a negative standpoint or a result oriented standpoint? Or do you look at a situation from an optimistic standpoint, which means you are looking at it from a standpoint of there is a challenge, there is a difficulty that needs to be overcome, etc., etc. Prasanna chit kiska hai between these two people, even relatively? Naturally, the one who says, okay, this is a situation, what needs to be done? Because man or indriya is relatively under their control. प्रसन्न है अंदर से, उसका चित्त स्वास्थ्य है, स्व अवस्था में है, स्वास्थ्य है, healthy है. A healthy mind is a cheerful mind. What is called an unhealthy mind? What are the lakshanas, characteristics of an unhealthy mind? Quickly, if some
Rag,
ragadvesh,
dvesh, unhappy, always looking
Negative.
for some.
Negative.
वो चलता ही रहता है. It doesn't stop anywhere.
negative, fear, anxiety, all these attachments, severe. वही रागद्वेष में सब आ जाता है वैसे. So, prasadah prasannat, he gets that. So, what are the fundamentals that we are seeing here? So beautifully, for every human being, this is our goal. What is the goal? The goal is I have to manage my own thinking, my own mind. We are starting our life without even knowing what our mind is. We don't know what our mind is. We don't know what our thoughts are. We don't know who we are. We start off engaging experiences in life, collecting experiences in life without truly understanding who we are. So, what is the objective? The objective is know your own self, know your mind, and manage your mind in such a way that this mind never becomes strong, powerful, that it leads you away from your main mukhya lakshya, mukhya disha, direction of life. The senses and the desire seeking should never be so prominent in life, dominant in life, that they can overpower your person, your will, and take you away from where you need to go. So he said here that such a person is a vidheya atma and he gets prasadam. Who doesn't want this antakaran ki shanti and cheerfulness under any circumstance? हालत कुछ भी हो बाहर, situation कोई भी हो, they are going to change, they will become better, they will get from better to worst, from best to better to good to not so good to bad to worst. The whole graph is there. Life will present its situations, but if you can conduct, I would say, even a phase here onwards, after Shravanam is complete, for a rest of our life, moksha can be a further goal. You cannot aspire for moksha if the first step is not completed. What is the first step here? He said, Sthita pragnya kyo prasad mil gaya. He is ever in a state of cheer. He is ever in a state of anandam. He is ever in a state of relaxed mind. This is our goal. Is my mind cheerful under all circumstances? In all circumstances? Can I remain in that state of managing my thoughts so that they do not spiral my state of mind lower and lower? If I can manage my mind to that level, then I know that I am moving in the direction that Shastra tells me. So, what did he say is such a person whose raga dvesha vimuktaihi? Such a person, tu was showing the opposite of the 62 and the 63rd verse. विषयों को इंद्रियों से चरण करता है. चरण is moves. He moves about इंद्रियों को, इंद्रियों के विषयों के साथ. He is able to keep them engaged without the mind running after them. He will be able to engage in some experiences, pleasant, letting the indriyas move freely in the world without them binding this person, because he's removed the fangs. What are the fangs? Ragadvesh are the fangs. अपने मन से उसने उनको ढीले कर दिए, हल्के कर दिए, इतने हल्के कर दिए कि अपनी मर्जी से चलते हैं. I choose my ragadvesh. Dvesh, तो of course nobody will choose, but it's a way of saying I can choose them. They are so weak. They can come down to preferences. Preferences don't bind you. So such a person has already attained that. He is a person who, having freed his own self from raga dvesh, he is able to move now with his indriyas meeting their own objects, sense engagements, sense contacts are allowed. He is able to interact freely because from within he is not going to be bound. Atma Vashyehi Vidheyatma. This Vidheyatma who has won over his own senses. Prasadam Adhikachati. And then once this prasad has come, we saw prasade, in that prasad, in that inner shanti. What has happened? Chetasaha hi ashu. In that shanti, what really happened is that all the dukkhas, all kinds of dukkha, prasade sarva dukkhanam hanihi asya upajayate. For such a person, all his dukkhas, the three types, we saw them last time, they have all now got destroyed. Nashaha. Nashaha is the word Bhashikara had used. दुखों का नाश हो जाता है. They are not felt. Once this prasanna chit ho gaya, means for a steady period of time. Understand this. This is not theory. For a length of time, if you have been able to keep your mind prasanna despite the challenge outside, दुनिया में कुछ भी हो रहा हो, बाहर कुछ भी हो रहा हो, आपके कानों ने आपकी इंसल्ट सुनी और आपके कानों ने आपकी अच्छाई सुनी, आपके सिचुएशन में बाहर लॉस है, आपको फायदा है, क्लोज वन की हेल्थ affected, etc. There will be things that will keep happening. For a length of time, if you have been able to manage prasanna chit rehna, ashu, jaldi, very quickly, buddhi pari avatisthate, your buddhi will now become firm, बैठ जाएगी, ठहर जाएगी. And Shankara said very beautifully, कैसे बैठ जाएगी? He had said, Akasham iva. Pari avatisthate Akasham iva pari samantat avatisthate. How is Akash ठहरा हुआ? How is Akash immovable? Akash, call it space. Akash that you see doesn't move. Why? फैला हुआ है. It is so vistarit, samantat, everything falls in, but it remains immovable. Pari avatisthate. Like what? Your buddhi will become firm, drid. Like what? Like akasham. आकाश कैसे दृढ़ है, firm है, despite what is happening in space. Nothing is affecting Akash. They are not synonyms, but for the sake of simplification, I'm using Akasham as space. Pari avatisthate Akasham iva pari samantat avatisthate. Where will this buddhi become sthir? This buddhi becomes sthir in Atma Swarupa. The jnanam that one has got, and this is what is important. Where is it sthir? Atma Swarupena eva. अपने आत्म स्वरूप में निश्चल हो गई. निश्चली भवति इति अर्थः. Nischal, like space, immovable. Your buddhi doesn't waver. It'll be very interesting to see the contrast constantly. If you can reflect on it. To us, what is happening? I'm repeating a little. To us, what is happening? Sense objects, we find them attractive. We have imposed Shobhana Adhyasa on them. We hold them in value. We think that if I get this, I will be happy. And if I don't get that, I'll be miserable. We have imposed a high value on acquisition of objects. And my happiness rests on that acquisition, because of which my mind is gurgling with a sense of incompleteness, insufficiency, khalipan, vacuum, loneliness, all kinds of things, as a result of which it becomes more wanting things. So such a mind is pushing the indriya more and more into the acquisition. Buddhi, whatever there was, what we have learnt, even in society, everybody knows We are taught, even at homes when we are kids, we are taught money cannot give you happiness. Did we need a Vedanta class for that? Money doesn't give you happiness. Did you hear it first time in a Vedanta class? That money doesn't give us happiness. We have heard it from childhood that money doesn't add to happiness, that human life is far more valuable than chasing. Hold relations more than you hold money. Your need for money should be defined. Otherwise, greed will take. Have we not heard this already? All this is already there in society, which is a part of one's hearing. That buddhi also goes away in the lure of the objects and the value we have imposed on it. Contrast it to this person now. कभी तो जिंदगी में करना पड़ेगा. I'm going to make a big statement here. If you don't do it in this life, किसी जन्म में तो करना ही पड़ेगा. So why not now? राग द्वेष को कम तो करना ही पड़ेगा. राग द्वेष को कभी तो कम करना ही पड़ेगा. So why not now? So what is that? Once the rag dvesh, if you take it as an objective, that yes, my mind, to the extent I am a disturbed person, I know that I have rag dvesh. To the extent I am a peaceful, cheerful, objective, happy person under all circumstances, I know that my rag dvesh are probably, I know them for myself that things don't bind me. What was the lakshana of one who has karam yoga, which has reduced his ragadvesh? What did he say is his lakshana? Uski
He'll be in his, yeah, his buddhi will be prime. He will look at things objectively. He will not get, carried by emotions.
And what is that state of mind?
Did prajna.
Yes. And ragadvesh jab kam ho gaya, that sthita prajna also has what? Samatvam.
Vairagyam.
Samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam in man. अंतकरण समत्व है. करेक्ट. अंतकरण समत्वम है. ट्रैंक्विल है. पॉइज्ड है. It remains prasadam means what? Not that you're always excited, happy go lucky, oh, ha, 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 all the time. No, 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 no. It's cheerful, it's relaxed. And that state of cheerfulness, relaxation is samatvam. This samatvam, he has said, is the one, once his ragadvesh is reduced, he has samatvam. You see the contrast? Did I complete the sentences? Our samatvam is lost. How often is it lost? As much as our ragdvesh are there. Our samatvam is directly lost. At what point? The minute something is not meeting my expectation, my samatvam is gone. And that ladder of fall 60 to 63 follows. The minute something has met my expectation, my samatvam is again gone. How? How is it gone? If I've got something that I desired,
It's become happy and elated.
it's elated. It's again risen up as if this is going to last. So that extra happiness that I feel I have imposed on me, which is Vishaya Janya. Vishaya Janya means it's come from an object. A happiness that I have got because of an object, gain of an object. Such an happiness is contributing to my loss of samatvam. So this person who has kabhi na kabhi, I'm repeating myself, we will have to engage our time, our priority, our interest in this. That if I mean, next verse is going to tell us what will happen if you don't have all this. all this as in you, your raga, dvesh, man, etc. If you don't have a prasanna chitta, what will happen? When we make this a priority, slowly when you find that is this life of a sadhak, slowly when you find the raga, dvesh reducing, samatvam settling, that samatvam now heard Vedanta Shravanam, buddhi starts to see it because antakaran shant hai or chitta shuddh hai. Rag dvesh is the only mala. So when rag dvesh is reduced, shuddhi hai chit mein. All these are so interrelated. They're actually pointing to one thing only. They're different words, different ways in which it is being said, but it's pointing to the same thing. Your antakaran is shant, your antakaran is peaceful. It is called prasadam. It has got cheer, it has got sthairya, it has got prasannata, swasthata. Such a person, quickly the buddhi gets settled into the knowledge that it is acquiring, into the knowledge of its own self being the Atma Swarupa, Ananda Swarupa. Such a person जिसकी बुद्धि अवस्थित हो गई है, his work is done kritakrityata yataha, because now he is kritakritya. So therefore tasmat raga dvesha vimuktaihi, 64th and 65th verse together, indriyaihi shastra aviruddheshu. Whatever shastra is prohibited, he doesn't go there. What is not prohibited, he is freely moving about. Avarjaniyeshu means there is no taboo on such sense contacts. Such a person, yuktaha samacharet, that is what is being said in 64th and 65th verse. And why has Bhashyakara used a steady mind with Akasha? What does the Vistara here mean? He said Nishchali Bhava. Nishchali Bhavati Ityartha. Nishchal hai. That Vistara means there is no other place to expand. It is what has no more place to expand. Movement is not there because it is everywhere. So Nishchal. Chala is moving. So Akash cannot move from one point to another point. Why? Because it is everywhere. So that is what he means to say Nishchali Bhava. It doesn't move. The buddhi doesn't move away from Atma Swarupa Jnanam. It remains steadily anchored there. It doesn't flow away. Sanchay nahi hai with reference to, is there pleasure in the world? What will happen if I don't get that pleasure? What will happen if I don't get my desires fulfilled? No such doubts are left. He's understood Atma as the Sukha Swabhav. And he's found it, he's discovered it. Discovered in the sense, how did he discover? It's not a miracle. It was not just God's preferential treatment over such a person. No, it was because God's preference came in the sense of Jnanam, but his Purusharth came in the sense of following the Shastra advice, weakening the Raga Dvesh, and thereafter establishing in Atma Buddhi. Now he said, Na asti buddhihi ayuktasya. Such a person, opposite he's showing now, Vyatireka example. Such a person who's ayuktaha. Ayuktaha means he is not, Bhashyakara will give example here. He is buddhihi atma swarupa vishaya ayuktaha. His buddhi is not joined, is not, you are not as a person joined with your own understanding. A lot of people tell us what we hear in the class is all wonderful, but when we go out of the class, it all goes clean slate initially. After some hearing, it stays. But very, very initially, you know, first few maybe classes, in the class it's understood, but afterwards it's lost. How will you explain that knowledge that you acquired in the class? You got clear about it, you understood it, you identified with it, you knew this was right, you even enjoyed it and reveled it because you knew it was right. You could understand. You can see it. It's not just understand, you can see what it is saying. And yet, after some time, lost. What has happened? Why has that buddhi got lost?
Because our mind is busy.
Uh-huh. Because that knowledge got overpowered by our own other aspect of the mind. Other things, indriya vishay, as we move about, chalte hue, move about in the world with our engagements and occupations, the knowledge goes into the background. S- Atma Swarupa Vishaya Ayuktaha. Whatever understanding you are gaining, if you're not identifying with that understanding, that buddhi is ayukta buddhi. That ayukta buddhi, what does it other means? Asamahita antakaranasya. असमाहित है उसका अंतकरण. जो अयुक्त है उसका अंतकरण असमाहित है. What is असमाहित? It is
Not
asamatva.
ready.
It is asamatva.
Asamatva would be it's not like it's not stable. It's
It's
not
not stable.
flowing. It's
Correct.
still flowing in the like a day.
Correct. Because Ragadvesh is still there. So if the buddhi is not got Atma Swarupa Vishaya se yukt nahi hai, that is an ayukta, he's asamahita antakaranasya. As long as you don't have Atma Sukh identified that the source of happiness is within and not outside, as long as I do not discover this simple fundamental fact, and I'm repeating myself, this is not that Vedanta class में आने के बाद सुना है हमने. We have known this much earlier in our life that the happiness is within and not outside. We may have heard it, we may not have understood it. In the class, we now understand it. But because we understand it, we do not identify and make our own antakarn and life move around that understanding. तो समझ एक जगह रहती है, हमारे मन और भाव एक जगह चलते हैं और हमारे कर्म एक जगह चलते हैं. Do you get this point? Knowledge is at one level. We all are gyanis at one level. We know the right answers to most of the things now. But our mind is at another level. It is still holding all that ragadvesh, irsha, uh, etc. Oh, it still gets ruffled, it still gets restless, it still gets disturbed, it still feels insecure, it still feels attached, it still has fear. वो सब होता रहता है साथ साथ, which is fine as long as we are in the stage of sadhana. But the point here is, if you are doing sadhana, it's okay. But if a person is keeping the knowledge at one level, माइंड को उसके साथ आप बदल नहीं रहे अपना. If there's no change happening in the mind and you're acting again at your own levels as it was, that was called ayuktaha. This ayuktaha is the one who is asamahitaha and has no bhavana. Ayuktasya, he has na bhavana. Na asti buddhi ayuktasya. इस अयुक्त की बुद्धि है नहीं। कौन सी बुद्धि? आत्मा विषय बुद्धि नहीं बनती, ठीक टिकती नहीं है। It doesn't stay with us at the right time. When I need the knowledge at the right time, it's not available. Even in the world, we see that. I give this example as a parallel to understand Shastra Vidya. If a doctor, an expert, a specialist, a super specialist, has a line of 6 months pending because he's a super specialist, but when it comes to his own closest one that he has to operate, his hands start trembling. Why? He is knowledgeable, he's skillful, he has saved hundreds of people. But when it comes to his own people, the knowledge shakes. He has a doubt, will I be able to be objective? Will I be able to hold my mind? That is where it shows that emotion has overpowered the knowledge. In a person of Sthita Prajna, he is anchored to Atma Sukh and his mind is now anchored, sunta hai. But this ayukt ki, ayuktasya na cha bhavana. And for this one whose buddhi is not got atmanatma, स्थिरता, विवेक नहीं है, उसको कोई भावना भी नहीं है, मीन्स वो जुड़ा ही नहीं है, जुड़ता नहीं है. एंड जुड़ता नहीं है इज व्हाट भाष्यकार सेज, आत्मज्ञान अभिनिवेश. ही मेक्स नो एंट्री इन आत्मज्ञान. उसका अभिनिवेश इज एक्चुअली एंटरिंग आत्मज्ञान. सुना तो है, यू नो दैट योर आत्मा, but there is no entry. The subtle body, the antakaran, is still ragadveshi. And because it is ragadveshi, ahankari jiva bhav hai abhi bhi, therefore there is no bhavana. And Madhusudana Saraswati here says for bhavana, he defines it as nididhyasa. जिस इंसान की अंतकरण समाहित नहीं है, equipoised nahi hai, who's not quite within, will also not be able to do nididhyasan. And what is nididhyasan? Once again, we are repeating. Shankara is not saying words nididhyasan at all. Throughout, you hardly find Shankara using these words, but the acharyas later have done this prakriya of shravanam, mananam, nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam is just varam varam. Every time the mind goes out with the senses, because of my past habit, before my doubt knowledge became doubtless, I am and I was a person of peculiarities of individual bhav. Just by my intellect getting clear about Atma Vishay, my mind will still not be aligned with that knowledge. So, one, it will keep on coming out. अपनी जगह से हिलेगा वो, बुद्धि हिलेगी. But every time वो हिलती है, a sincere seeker student brings it back. That is nididhyasana. Bring it back to your Atma Vishay. वहाँ ठहरा दो उसको. And then go about engaging what is to be done. Every time it goes out, bring it back. Every time you identify that it has gone out, let's put it this way. Every time suddenly आपको पता चला रही है तो निकल गई, bring it back. Shanti. That is called final nididhyasan, making self correction, notions of your own self, correcting them in the light of knowledge. That he says, the one who doesn't have a shant manaha, such a one, he is not going to be able to have any entry in Atmagyan. वो निधिध्यासन कर ही नहीं सकता. He cannot take on to the discipline of Mananam and Nididhyasanam, in particular Nididhyasanam. Such a one who is abhava, न च अभावयतः शांति ही, जिसका भावना नहीं है, अभावयतः, भावना ना रहते हुए, शांति ही न शांति ही, will have no shanti, will have no shanti. And what is Shankara saying for shanti? Upashamaha. He says he will have no upashamaha. Upashamaha means again that quiet withdrawal within oneself. What is the definition of shanti? अपने आप में. What is peace? Sleep. When you wake up with a nice, good, rested sleep, what did you feel in sleep?
Pure thought,
In this context of the words, what did you feel in sleep?
peace,
Shanti.
peaceful.
Shanti. You felt shanti, no? When you woke up, you say, oh, shanti. What was that shanti? Upashamaha. Withdrawal of everything that disturbs. That is actually what is shanti. There is no active engagement. That peace is upashamaha. Then he says the one who is ashant, ashantasya kuttah sukham. जिसको शांति नहीं है, who cannot sit quiet peaceful by themselves, ashantasya, how is he going to get sukham? Kuttah sukham. Why? Here Bhashyakar gives an explanation a little. Because indriyanam, he indeed, indriya, what do indriyas do? What is a person doing with the indriyas? Vishaya seva trishnataha nivrittihi ya tat sukham na vishaya trishna. He says, when do you get sukham? When the trishna for the vishaya through the indriyas has settled. Nivritti ho gayi. It's gone. The trishna has gone for Vishay Sevan. Vishay Sevan means enjoying the objects. उसके लिए जो एक शोभना अध्यासा थी, एक तृष्णा थी, that's nivritti, it's gone. Then you get sukham. Sukham is not vishaya trishna. By actually भोगने से, विषयों को भोगने से, sense enjoyment, sense experiences, is not sukham. The happiness that comes because of sense contacts, sense pleasures, fulfilling that desire, that trishna, if you get fulfilled, also that is not sukham. And look at him. Then what is it? Sense pleasures क्या है फिर? हमें तो वही सुख दिखते हैं. Shankara says, Dukkham eva hi sa. I hope this sentence gets clear. There are two levels at which it continues. One level at the Atma Jnani level, another at our level. At our level, what is happening? Vishaya Trishna is what we are calling as Sukh. I wanted an object, I got it. That is happiness for me. Shankara says it is not happiness, it is dukkham eva. Na trishnayam satyam sukhasya. Oh, what a sentence. He says, if you have trishna, na sukhasya, there is no sukh in those sense pleasures. How much? Gandhamatram api. What is gandhamatram? Even this little pinch, when you say pinch of salt, add a pinch of salt. That pinch, even a pinch of sukh is not there in sense pleasures. And this is a matter of huge reflection and stepping up. Even this much sukh is actually not there. हमारी बुद्धि अभी ये चीज देखेगी नहीं. Most of us will wind it up, we'll accept the statement, but we'll not identify with trying to understand this. Because if you try to understand this statement, what will happen? If you get clarity of this statement, गंध मात्र भी नहीं है सुखों के विषयों को भोगने में. भोग में गंध मात्र भी सुख नहीं है. There is not even a iota of happiness in sense pleasures. If you understand this statement, what will happen? If you understand this statement, what will happen? One word answer.
Shanti.
All right. But what will directly happen?
You're going to get rid of the raga dvesh.
Excellent. You will get rid of raga dvesh. And what is that state called? Nirvedam Maya. What is that state called? Vairagya. You will give a right value to it. What is Vairagyam? A right value to sense pleasure. Connected to the word straight away verse that has gone. Sense contact is not prohibited. Indriya, Vishayan, Charan. You can move, let the senses move in their objects that are sanctioned by the Shastra. But if your Ragadvesh is gone, then you are free to move. But if you go with the Ragadvesh, you are expecting happiness here, you'll only get disappointment. Dukkhameva, there is no happiness. There is no happiness. I don't even want to multiply the examples here. There is no happiness in any sense contact, period. Shastra keh raha hai. It'll only be our own understanding to step up to see how this is true, because it kind of contradicts my experience of life. I feel if I like an ice cream, I have an ice cream, I get joy out of an ice cream. Who's interested whether that joy is lasting or not? I'm not interested. But I do not see that sense pleasure that I just enjoyed and it seemed to have given me a happiness, how is it related to my disappointment? That happiness, is it also a seed of a disappointment at some other time? Yes or no? With reference to this ice cream example.
Yes, definitely.
I
Because then you start thinking that, oh, why did I have it? I've just added calories to myself. I shouldn't have had
oh,
it.
I didn't go that far. Okay, that is also there. That is also very true. Yes. Importantly,
Every sukh will bring in some, if it's materialistically related, it will bring dukh, because again there will be a fear of losing
a
something.
fear of losing, and supposing I really only like vanilla ice cream and next time I don't get it, what has happened? What is that pleasure that I got last time from having my vanilla choco ice cream or whatever that ice cream is called? Whenever I enjoyed it, I relished it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. But next time I again that under se aega, let's have an ice cream. And I go to the shop and I say, can I have hai? And that he says, nahi hai aaj. What happened? That pleasure instantly left a seed of dukh behind. They are two sides of a coin. Any sense pleasure is directly a birth of dukh. पोटेंशियल दुख उसमें है. ये चीज हमें दिखती नहीं है. हम भोग में इतना इन्वॉल्व हो जाते हैं that we are not realizing that the bhog itself is the very cause of my becoming dukhi next corner, next moment, anytime. And the amount of feeding we have done of our ragadvesh, अपनी इच्छाओं को हमने जैसे भरा है, what is the proportion of us being sukhi? He says, and this is an important line for reflection. Every part is important, but some lines to start with. At another point, maybe that line is not important, another line will be important. But if one is chasing sense pleasures, and in the initial stage of the Gita study, where we are still working on reducing our ragadvesh, bringing them under our control, picking up our practices of shama and dama and nididhyasana, as he says, get this sentence, grapple it to your soul, as they would say. There is not gandhamatram sukham entirely until you don't see it. The day you see this fact, and I'm calling it a fact because it's a fact, the day we see this fact, instantly there is shanti, because now I can contact the object, but I'm never going to be disappointed by the object. I'm never going to be hurt by the object. I'm not going to get angry at the object. I'm not going to get fearful of the object. I'm not going to have anything. I won't have ownership of the object. I won't have anything to do. As long as the object is there, if there is some indriya sukham in that lesha matra, whatever there is, gandha matra, whatever, if I have still got a value over it, that little value I can enjoy and forget about it, not carry it forward as having a real value there. That is how you keep growing into independence.
आया तो भी ठीक नहीं आया तो भी ठीक नहीं
Sorry?
आया तो भी ठीक नहीं आया तो भी
हाँ,
ठीक
मिला तो भी ठीक, नहीं मिला तो भी ठीक, आया तो भी ठीक, नहीं आया. My favorite has always been नहीं आया तो और भी ठीक, मिला तो बहुत ठीक, नहीं मिला तो और भी ठीक. Because, oh my God, what a big chase I must have saved myself from, God knows. I may not see it today, but I'm sure it is going to be for my interest. So, yes, because knowledge has corrected our expectations. There are no, the expectations themselves are false values. Vyavharically, you may have them, but for your shanti, they are the ones that are disrupting your shanti directly. So, this verse is clear. It's just a vyatirek of saying, how is this person going to be sukhi ever if your mind has ragadvesh? One line essence. मन में अगर राग द्वेष है तो उसको सुख हो नहीं सकता. Finished. And you take the विपरीत of it. अगर दुख है, that means राग द्वेष है. Or what is the solution? No other solution but karma yoga in any of these principles and any of these that he's saying. Now he says in the next verse, Ayuktasya kasmat buddhihi nasti. Why is ayuktaha, the one whose buddhi is not established in Atma Sukh, uski buddhi क्यों नहीं बनती आत्मा स्वरूप में? And he is saying here now what I started the class with. Indriyanam hi charatam yan manaha yat manaha anuvidhiyate. He indeed. इंद्रियां अपनी अपनी चरती है. वी हैव डन दिस. सेंस इंद्रिया अपने विषयों में चरती है. व्हाट इज चरती है? Moves in their respective paths. Excuse me. इंद्रियां अपने विषयों में चरती है. So eyes will meet color and form. Ears will meet sound. So इंद्रियां अपने विषयों में जो चलती है, they move about in their respective paths. Ear to the sound, tongue to the taste, etc. While the indriyas are moving, yat manaha anuvidhiyate. This is beautiful. Anu means follows. The mind follows the senses. I started the class, so it's easy to understand now. While the indriyas, there is a pull from the objects of the indriyas to the vishaya, खींच रही है वो आपको ऑब्जेक्ट की तरफ, आपका अट्रैक्शन एंड रिवल्जन ऑब्जेक्ट के लिए बन रहा है, इंद्रियां विषयों की तरफ जा रही है. What happens? Quickly, mind follows it, खींच लेती है. तत् अस्य हरति प्रज्ञा. Mind follows it, as a result of which harati prajna, the prajna also, the knowledge also gets robbed away. The knowledge also is robbed away. Robbed away where? He says that prajna which was atma anatma viveka jam. Jam is born by atma anatma viveka. An example I'll take here. Supposing that previous line, if we understand a little and we've understood that there is no pleasure in sense object, yet maybe after a few weeks or months I find something which is suddenly exciting me. Because it excites me, what will happen? All three steps you can see. It excited, I saw something, it excites me. That excitement is at the level of the senses.
Indriya.
Excellent. It's at the level of the indriya. And that indriya, now that I've got excited, what is happening to the mind? Quickly got, उसका जो राग द्वेष अंदर था उठ गया एकदम से. This is what I can fulfill. इच्छा मेरी पूरी हो सकती है. एकदम से उठ गया वो राग द्वेष. मन भागा. अब जो समझ में आया था कुछ हफ्तों पहले कि इंद्रिय विषयों में कोई सुख नहीं है, कितना साफ समझ में आया आज. वो प्रज्ञा खिंच गई. Gone with that excitement. It's lost. How? He says, and he gives an example here. And this is a fact happening. I always feel that I'm probably not explaining it clear enough. I don't know why I always feel that, because if the fact can be seen as a fact, Shastra Vidya is statement of facts, one after another, that I can recognize happening to me all the time. What is weakening me? What is making me unhappy? What is making me sad? What is making me angry? What is giving me frustration? All the identification, the knowledge has given me the causes. क्यों हो रहा है ये मेरे साथ? And if I've understood क्यों हो रहा है, the answer is also given. क्यों, कैसे वो overcome हो जाएगा? You can cross it. You can, to such an extent that moksha is also possible. You can be a completely freed person. So to convey this, the speed with which it takes over, it's controlled completely. The prajna is controlled. How? He says, Vayuhu navam iva ambhasi. Just like Vayu, नाव को पानी में बहा ले जाती है, खींच ले जाती है. In which direction? Opposite direction. You want to go somewhere, in the now you are sitting in the boat, and in the water, the boat is in the water, and you want to go somewhere, but the wind takes the boat another place. Just as the wind takes the boat away from its lakshya, from its gantavya, from where it is meant to go. Just as wind takes the boat away, so too mind takes the prajna away. इंद्रिय मन को खींच लेती है, मन ज्ञान को खींच लेता है. Therefore, before we go to the next verse, Can any one of you conclude? Therefore.
शांति चली जाती है,
हाँ जी.
शांति चली जाती है,
Okay. Shanti. Therefore.
मन भागने लगता है टुवर्ड्स, यहाँ ऐसे होने लगता है.
Correct. Therefore.
Therefore, control.
Therefore, there is a huge role of the intellect.
Excellent. Therefore, tasmat asya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvashaha. Control your indriyas from all sides. All the indriyas you control. How many indriyas we have? Here, 5 organs of perception. And for all of them, there be alert. Correct. There is a verse popular in Vivek Chudamani that has come, and the verse says, gives an example of 5 insects and animals. Each of them has one indriya weakness. एक इंद्रिया क्या कमी है, weak है, means they are attracted at one weak. One indriya is powerful, so they get it's strong. One indriya is strong, and that becomes the cause of their destruction. The Shastra shows there as an example. What are the 5 of them? One is deer. Deer has a weakness for sound. So when they want to catch the deer, they play some flute or some music, something that brings the deer closer to them, and then they capture the deer. So जिसकी कमजोरी है तुमको, जिस इंद्रिय की कमजोरी है, वही इंद्रिय उसके नाश का कारण बनती है. बुद्धि नाशात प्रणश्यति, उसी इंद्रिय से उसका फॉल होता है. The second example they give is elephant. Elephant has a weakness for sparsha, skin, touch. So they keep a female, if it's a male elephant, they keep a female elephant tied, and they dig a hole and they cover the hole with grass and all that, and the male elephant gets attracted to the female and crosses that, and as soon as it goes over that, falls in that hole. That's the way they capture it. The third example they give is the word's going away. Patanga. What is that? Patanga is called what? Moth. No? A moth gets attracted to sight, flame. उसकी इंद्रिया दृष्टि उसकी कमजोरी है. It gets attracted at sight, form. The flame it gets attracted to, and what happens? Burns itself away. It gets pulled to the flame because it's attracted to that form and gets pulled and gets burnt, destroyed. And the fourth, fish. Fish. How do you catch a fish? What is its weakness? Taste, tongue, food. So to catch a fish, the bait is your food, and that it gets attracted to the food. Reflect on the example. Those of you who have been hearing for some time have heard this for last how many years? The example. Reflect on this example. The example is so clear that how even if there is one indriya weakness, it becomes a cause of your destruction. Machli, fish, taste, gone. And the last one is Brahmar. What is that insect which is attracted to the smell of the flower? What? Bee. A bee is attracted to the smell of the flower, and what happens? Wants to take the nectar inside, goes deep in, and the minute it goes, a flower closes its own self, and the bee dies inside. Each one indriya weakness you have is enough for your dhyato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho vijayate krodhat bhavati sammohaha sammohat smriti vibhramaha smrtirbhramshat buddhinashat pranashyati. One weakness, sense weakness, has in all these life forms, they have one sense weakness. And the verse ends, and the acharyas end this by saying, what do we talk of man, human beings, who has all these five indriyas weak? What is our chance? Where all our five indriyas are weak. You know? He says, Tasmat, therefore, this is Nigamanam. The topic is concluded. Therefore, O Mahabaho, Arjuna, you are a Mahabaho. You are a one who is mighty armed. You take the challenge head on. You are ready to fight the enemy. The enemy is not outside. What is the enemy? The enemy is your indriya weak, your weakness in your indriyas. Nikrihitani sarvasha, from all sides, all the indriyas. Not even one can you hold them. Hold powerful. Allow allow one indriya to be weak. Sarvashaha indriyani indriyarthebhyaha, the one who is able to indriya arthebhyaha, indriyani indriya arthebhyaha, the one who is able to detach or pull away the indriya from the indriya artha. Indriya artha is sense object. इंद्रियों का विषय, जो इंद्रियों को अपने इंद्रिय के विषय से खींच लेता है, निग्रहीतानि, pulls back. One who's able to successfully, I would say, who is able to accomplish pulling back his indriyas from having that full exposure of the bhoga, contact with the sense object and sense pleasure, and then one who is able to pull it back. Tasya prajna pratishtita. उसकी प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठित है. Therefore, O Mahabaho, the translation is interesting. Therefore, O hero, O Mahabaho, O hero, his wisdom is established, ठहरती है, whose senses have been withdrawn from all sides from their respective sense objects. Therefore, we'll conclude tomorrow. This topic gets concluded here. You know, he said here, the fourth was, how does he move about? He moves about with his raga dvesh under his control, and such a one who's vidheya atma, tasmat mahabaho nigrahitani. So the topic is, therefore control your senses. Shama is important. Dama is important. Control the senses. Never allow sense pleasures to have uninterrupted uninterrupted acceptance. There must be interceptions. Once in a while, you must break the habit of any sense pleasure that is forming a habit at the right stage. That's why earlier in life you start these practices, far, far better it is. What is better? In any sense pleasure, I can have my likes and dislikes, but none of my likes and dislikes should have uncontrolled, I'm losing the right word, should have uncontrolled, unsupervised sanction. That's the right word. None of my sense contacts, pleasures that I seek should have unsupervised sanction. I must break them by withdrawal once in a while. I must never let them become 10 out of 10. I must all access, that's right. I must have a break. I must break my sense contact, which give me pleasure, most important. This should be the discipline. Therefore, Dhamma, and therefore, Shama. स्थित प्रज्ञा कब बनेगा? शास्त्र पूरा पढ़ लो, अब ब्रह्म सूत्र तक पढ़ लो, बट अगर मन के राग द्वेष नहीं शिथिल हुए, if your mind doesn't get weakened of its raga dvesh, there is no spiritual movement. Intellectual clarity is not adequate. Intellectual clarity is a huge step, no doubt about that, but it is not a complete step. Intellectual clarity is your first step, but it is not a complete step. It has to have followed the second step. That clarity that I have must translate into, in some way, we all have can figure out our own ways in which we can apply it. Our situations are all different, therefore. But if the principle, if I'm joined with the principle, I'll find its application filtering in my life. And that's the purpose of the Gita. Purpose of Gita Shastra is to give us inner maturity, to, to streamline our life, to help us develop as human being. That's the purpose of the Gita Shastra. Once that little development comes, then we are ready for Atman Atma Vichar, which is a topic of the Upanishads, and in Gita, in between. This we will do tomorrow, 69, and we're almost concluding. Uh, Probably not tomorrow, but we'll see. Coming to the end of the chapter. Since we are almost concluding, if you have any questions, you can send an email on the questions. I will take it up. And my suggestion would be, I don't know how each one of you is formatting your study. Each verse, whatever you understand, now onwards, if you've not already done it, just make a note then and there. What you've understood. Sit 5 minutes after the class, then and there make a note. What have you picked up against each verse? There may be a time when you'll throw the whole thing out. You'll grow so much. But at that point, what you have held instantly, 5 minutes extra, sit and make your verse note. Okay? So we'll end the class. There's no question. Ji, can you end the class?
सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु, सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषा, गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम्, लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु, काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः, पृथ्वी सस्यशालिनी, देशोऽयं शोभरहितः, ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Did I do the recording? I
busy.
did. Anji?
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Recording has stopped.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.